Hi, my name's Jen and I work on sustainability impact here at Clearbella. And today, as we're leading into Earth Month, I really wanted to talk about waste, and in particular textile waste within the fashion industry. So I want to talk a little bit about the problem first of all, and then some of the ways that we're addressing it here at Clearbella. So first of all, we know that textile waste is about to surpass plastic waste, and there's around 92 million tons of textile waste produced every year that is ending up in our waterways, in landfills, and sometimes being incinerated. And we also know that fast fashion brands in particular are producing 2 times the amount of clothing than they did in the year 2000. So some of the things that we're doing here at Clearbella really start from like the top and in the design room. It's where we're making a lot of our decisions in the way that our clothing is made and the way that we can avoid and prevent waste from happening within the life cycle of a garment that we produce. So some of the things that we look at is, can we produce our garments from monomaterials? This is where we're using a single fiber source instead of mixing multiple materials. The reason that we do this is so that we can recycle them at the end of use of a garment much more easily. The infrastructure right now for recycling clothing is really difficult. It's made more difficult when we're mixing a lot of different components and materials together, and it's hard to separate. So ideally we prefer to design most of our clothing using monomaterials where we can. We also don't like to add unnecessary components, mixing metals and plastics into our fibers as well where we can avoid it, and trying to make any components that we do add to the garment to be easily removed at the end of use. Another design consideration that we make in our clothing is designing for fluctuating bodies. So we have a lot of adjustable components within our clothing, such as straps and ties. And the reason that we do this is that we know that our customers' bodies are going to change a lot over the lifetime, and we want our clothing to be used year on year and be able to be used as our bodies change as well. So that's one of the reasons that we do that, and we design clothing for that reason, is so that we can continue to wear clothing. We also don't design for like really trend forward. We like our styles to be able to last like a really long time, and we want our customers to feel like they can wear them every season. And we also do this so our customers can get as much wear out of the clothing as they possibly can. We also consider the way that we're making a pattern when we're producing our clothing, and we want to reduce the amount of waste when producing a garment. So often there can be a lot of waste in the cutting of a pattern, and we try to design our clothing to minimize the amount of waste during cutting as well. Some of the things that we consider for the use phase of a garment, so after we've designed it, is looking at how much we can really wear the clothing once we have it in our closet. We know that the number of times a garment has declined by 36% in the last 15 years. That really means that we're using our clothing a lot less. Every piece of clothing that we buy, we're using it a lot less than we used to. So to address this, we really encourage our customers to hand cold wash their clothing, and to really not wash your clothing that regularly. Only wash it as necessary. When we use cold water, we're able to ensure that there's longevity in the fibers. Using hot water really degrades the quality of the fibers much more quickly. And then also just not putting your clothing through those washing cycles will help it to last a lot longer. By using plant-based fibers, much of Clearbella's clothing is made from plant-based fibers. We're also able to ensure that it lasts and is durable. The reason being, those fibers are often more breathable than their synthetic counterparts as well. Some of the things that we're looking at the end of life phase of a garment, so once we're finished wearing it and we can't possibly get as much wear out of it or we need to pass it on for whatever reason, is looking at how we can reintroduce it back into the supply chain. Currently, we're losing around $500 billion each year for underwearing clothing and failure to recycle that. So to address this, we have a take back program where we encourage you to send us back your used clothing that you can no longer wear. And we are working with our partner 4 Days to get that clothing back into a secondhand market or to be recycled or downcycled as well. We're also looking at some other programs to address some of the waste. One of those being our conscious content program. You may not be aware of this, but when you are a brand and you're sending clothing and your products to influencers, often they're inundated with products that they only use once or sometimes not even at all. And that contributes to a significant amount of waste in the influencer industry alone. What we do is work with our influencers for them to tell us what they actually will wear on an ongoing basis, and whatever they're not going to use, they can send back to us and we can send to other people to use. We work on a very different model compared to a lot of other fashion brands in the way that we cut to order. And what this really means is that we're only making as much product as we're going to sell. So we don't overproduce garments. That means that we have a lot slower cycle in terms of the design and distribution of our garments, but it also means that we're not overproducing. When brands are overproducing, often what's happening is it's going to end up in landfill, or sometimes that clothing is going to be incinerated, which is a real waste. It's basically we're taking virgin clothing that's never been worn or never been used, and we're destroying it before it's even gotten into the hands of the customer. We really want to avoid that. So that's why we only cut to order for our designs and styles every season. And one other thing that we're working towards, and while we know that we're not like a perfect brand, but we're trying to be perfectly imperfect, is that we're aspiring to become a B Corp certified company in 2024. And one of the things that we've been working towards is really understanding our impact and measuring our impact, and that's around the waste that we produce, the materials that we're using in our clothing, and culminating that so we can measure our performance. And this is part of the B Corp certification process, is us really understanding our performance year on year and then setting goals for ourselves to improve on every year as we go.